Thank you very much to the organizers for asking these important questions. Let's look at this topic primarily through the lens of electoral redistricting and take this opportunity to explore situations from a different perspective, considering how communities, just as individuals, may be manipulated. If you missed this approach to gerrymandering, I'd like to introduce you to the Ugly Jerry font. It is readily available for downloading. You might be wondering which states make up the word manipulation. Here they are. Often the challenge with these types of weird districts is that communities have been combined or split apart for a particular purpose, leading us to wonder how transparent was the map making. Generally, you do not think of the words transparent and manipulation in the same vein. Let's remind ourselves of what official definitions of the word include. There are a variety of interpretations, including negative connotations such as control, insidious, sly. Also, potentially admired capabilities such as skillful, influence, or edit. And neutral concepts, moving, examining. Manipulation has clearly long been a part of human experience. Machiavelli's classic approach to governing was first published in 1532. And we have multiple words for this concept, not including rude words or those in different languages. Sometimes the word we use to describe a situation reflects how we feel when it has happened to us. So consider Justice Potter Stewart's threshold for obscenity. I know it when I see it. Can we set an objective standard for manipulation? This might depend on cultural norms, and lacking agreement on norms, we have to seek other structures. Geographers are not immune to manipulation. The Portuguese cartographer Diogo Ribeiro composed this map amid a bitter dispute between Spain and Portugal over a hub for the spice trade in present-day Indonesia. In 1494, the two countries had signed the Treaty of Tordesillas, dividing the world's newly discovered land in two along a meridian 370 leagues west of the Cape Verde Islands, a good example of manipulation. After Ferdinand Magellan circumnavigated the globe for the first time in 1522, Ribeiro, working for the Spanish crown, placed the Spice Islands inaccurately just inside the Spanish half of his seemingly scientific world maps. Ribeiro may have known that the islands, which appear on the far left and far right sides of the map, actually belonged to Portugal, but he also knew who paid the bills. Jerry Broughton, author of A History of the World in 12 Maps, observed, "This is the first great example of politics manipulating geography." Sometimes manipulation is more obvious. One group in North Carolina staged a 5K run along the electoral district lines. As with the gerrymander font, the objective was to get people's attention. Over the past decade, academics and activists have been highlighting the egregious manipulation of electoral districts across the country, and cases on the topic did make it to the Supreme Court. However, during oral arguments in Gill v. Whitford in the fall of 2017, Chief Justice Roberts dismissed the approach of social scientists and mathematicians to identifying gerrymandering. Speaking from a place of power, he used a pejorative term, effectively denigrating the work of people across the country. Emotional manipulation happens in personal and professional relationships. I would argue this applies to current legislation regarding elections passed or proposed across the country, and also to how people are able to interact with their representatives. People in charge might insist on meeting in their office where they feel most powerful, They might create a constraint, such as a deadline, to pressure a group into an ill-considered decision. They might limit the locations or times of where public hearings can take place, making it inconvenient for people who work or have children to participate. Most prevalent in terms of electoral redistricting is control over and regulation of the data. In the previous redistricting cycle, barriers, often price, but also GIS skills, prevented people from accessing geospatial technology tools. Knowledge and confidence can help guard against manipulation. We should want to know who is grouping us where, with whom, and why. We want to move drawing redistricting maps out from locked rooms and recognize that drawing lines on a map requires choices and decisions and prioritization. The objective is to make the discussion transparent. And we can begin by empowering people at the scale of their communities where they have the greatest knowledge of the situation. The resources through GeoCivics support these efforts. So think about this quote from Stacey Abrams. Remember that Machiavelli did not set out to be an adjective for diabolical cunning. People are not going to automatically do the right thing, however you want to define that. And we need to figure out how best to create community structures to benefit everyone. And, frankly, make the manipulation transparent. So recognize when you are being manipulated. Recognize when you are manipulating and how that affects your community. Thank you.